anyone heard of a donkey punch?
It's proper hardcore.
I am hardcore.
Welcome to Film Strip. I'm Jay.
And I'm Brian.
And we're here to talk about Donkey Punch, starring Robert Butler, Cian Brecken, Nicola Burley, Tom Burke, Julian Morris, Jay Taylor, and Jamie Winstone. Written by David Bloom and Ollie Blackburn and directed by first-time feature filmmaker Ollie Blackburn. This one was released in the UK in 2008, limited release in the US in 2009. And on a budget of roughly $785,000, it's made around $700 worldwide, only $19,000 in the States. It is definitely a foreign film. It is a UK thriller. Brian, why are we talking about a movie called Donkey Punch?
Well, Jay, we wanted to do a variety of thrillers and scary flicks for the Halloween time, and you know what, Jay? I have no clue why we're doing this.
I don't either. I seem to remember some online conversation that led us to both buy cheap DVDs from Amazon.
Yeah, yeah. That had nothing to do with looking for a movie, But
at all. We don't need to relive that. But obviously, this is a little different, folks. I mean, look, Brian and I have explored some of the dreck of cinema here. We've done No Holds Barred that we essentially had to go to YouTube to watch. Leprechaun, that wasn't that hard to find, but I bought 5 of those for $1. This one I got off Amazon for I think it was $2.95 was what I paid for the DVD.
And I watched
I bundled
it
with some other stuff. You got it for free?
I got it for free with Amazon's free streaming because I'm a Prime member. So.
See, I had to pay for this,
Yes.
and I watched it more than once.
Oh,
so
I did not.
Look, we gotta, we gotta lay some ground rules here. If you don't know what a donkey punch is, and you're listening to this, you've probably Googled it already, and you're either turning this podcast off in disgust, or you're wondering why are we talking about this. The film has a lot of sexually explicit material in it. We keep things pretty much above board here. You know how we do things on the Film Strip, but there's only way to talk about some of this stuff is to talk about it. So no going in. This is an unrated film, and even so, it's a hard R. I mean, this one was made in the UK, and if you don't know anything about foreign film ratings, they're a lot more lenient about things like nudity and cursing than we are in the US. They get hung up on a lot of gore and stuff like that the same way we do, but their MPAA is nothing like ours. So there's some stuff in here that you wouldn't find necessarily in an American thriller. It's something to talk about, as we go through it, Brian, but wanted to lay that out from the front. It is a thriller film, no matter how we got here, Brian. This is an interesting thriller. It's well reviewed out there, and so let's take a crack at it and see what it's about. But before we launch through this thing, can you give us a plot summary, please?
In a coastal Mediterranean paradise, 3 women, Lisa, Kim, and Tammy, meet up with 4 guys, Bluey, Josh, Sean, and Marcus, and the 7 take their nonstop party out to the sea on a luxury yacht. They drink, cavort, and ultimately several wind up on the decks below in a drug-fueled orgy. The big party takes a turn for the worst when Lisa is killed having sex with Josh after receiving a donkey punch, a violent hit administered during climax. Through the course of the film, the others come to blows over how to deal with the situation. Tensions rise, betrayal and anger emerge, and the survivors turn against one another in a desperate battle of wills until there's only one left alive. That's pretty much the story here, Jay. And now I seem to remember here we were talking, and I think what happened here, why we chose this film, is because I was looking through the free films that we get to see as Prime members of Amazon.com, and this one came up, and I couldn't believe that there was a movie by the name Donkey Punch, and we both decided then and there we needed to see this movie.
Yeah, we sight unseen without knowing anything about it, and I went into this one. Usually when we're doing these films, Brian, I either know a lot of the backstory to them or I go and read a lot of it. I try to preload with information. This one, I decided I was going in cold. So I bought the DVD, got it in the mail, popped it in, and I sat there for 99 minutes. And the first thing that hit me was, man, this film is really British.
Yeah.
Like really British. To the point that if your ears aren't attuned to a little bit of the accent, you miss things. And that's why I had to watch it more than once, because I missed it. And I even went back and watched cast interviews and stuff. And out of their acting motif, these people have serious heavy accents. And you can tell this film was made overseas. And so that was the first thing I had to adjust to. And I didn't think about that because you and I review Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and there's a character on there called Spike he has a British accent, and it's a good accent. For matter of fact, for years I didn't know James Marsters was not British, but it's nothing on the real thing.
Right.
And these people are the real thing. And so, so I went into this one cold. I knew nothing about it, and I watched it, and then I started to read a lot of the reviews of it. And it certainly got a lot of reviews. I mean, it played at Sundance. I mean, it sort of made the festival bit. I threw out its numbers there. They're not terribly impressive, but for a first-time film and a very, fledgling indie British company, they were pleased with it. They like it. And this, director Blackburn is involved in some bigger projects now, some Hollywood projects. And all of these actors apparently are big-time working actors over in, Britain. So, I mean, for them, this would be like the all-star cast of, I guess, of a show like One Tree Hill doing a horror movie here in the U.S. That's kind of the people that they got. Some of them are a little newer than others, but otherwise they kind of went after people that folks over in the U.K. know.
Interesting. So I know nothing about it either, and luckily I have several friends who are British, so I've had experience with the accent quite a bit through work and through friendships I forged through my wrestling stuff. But yeah, I agree. If you're not used to the British accent, it gets hard to kind of pick up some things. And they do use quite a few terms that are not prevalent here in the United States. So you kind of get lost at times with what they're trying to convey as a message too. So, but I was luckily able to pick most of it up from terms that I've heard before from some of my friends overseas and things like that. And whatever I didn't feel was necessary for me to go find because I could get it from the rest of the context.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not terribly hard to follow. I mean, the plot here is pretty simple, and so let's start walking through the thing. I mean, because it's all a setup for what you know is coming. If you know what a donkey punch is, or if you don't, and you look it up ahead of time, going in, you're waiting for somebody to hit a woman in the back of the head in the middle of climax. So the whole movie's waiting for that to happen. And Brian, it's 40 minutes into it before that really happens.
Which is good, because they got to really set how this comes about. I mean, I don't think anyone normal goes into a sexual relationship and expects to be donkey punched or, that's part of your normal sexual behavior. So you can't just have it happen right away, right? So I like that they kind of built up to the whole when it happened.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because if you see the UK version of the poster for this movie, it looks like a bloody corkscrew, but it's like this bloody boat motor, and it sort of looks like Saw, But my cover of the DVD is these, gorgeous people that, again, look like they could be on One Tree Hill standing on a beach, and then some bloody water beneath them, and it says the party is going overboard. So it's a different way of selling it. Like in the UK, they sold this thing, and it looked like Hostel or something like that, but it's really not. It's much more plotting than that kind of movie, even though it's got some gore to it, and we'll get to that. It's much more of a suspense thriller and kind of I don't know, it borrows from a lot of different treatments. I guess we should just start walking through it, and then we can hit some of these things as we go, Brian. But you got to know, open it up. You're looking at a movie here that's made for less than $1 million. All right, so it's shot on high-def cameras, which means it looks nice, but it's not shot on film. So you can tell pretty quick that it's something that if you knew what you were doing, you could do yourself. So it has that kind of look to it, but it doesn't have one of the standard tropes of the indie film, which is the shaky camera and all that stuff going on, which I really like. It looks nice. We open up on these three women in the hotel getting ready to go have fun. I wrote down going ready to go have fun and vodka, because apparently that's a big part of their lives. And they're talking, and again, I don't understand half of what they're saying. I just know three good-looking women who are getting ready to go somewhere. And you got the short pixie with the short hair, the tall blonde, and the other one in the bathroom who we later learn a little bit more about is going through some stuff. But we just follow these women into a bar, and this sort of Euro trash techno pop is going on. And the first 5 minutes of this movie are just these people talking, and I don't know any of their names.
Yeah, I know. It's really kind of introducing the scene that they're part of, I think. The party scene, that's kind of going to lay the groundwork for why they would maybe go on this boat because, I mean, seriously, really. But anyway, it's laying down that these girls are out to have a good time, they're partying, and it's more laying down the fact, I think, as we go through this, that the short-haired girl Tammy and the short-haired girl Kim and the blonde Lisa are really trying to get Tammy to get out and have a good time, I think.
Yeah, it looks like, and we're even told later, she's getting over something. Someone cheated. There's a relationship that's broken up, and these girls from London have gone to, I think it's Spain they're supposed to be in, or coastal Spain or something. But anyway, they're on a holiday to try and, help her get over it. And I kind of got the feeling that this was an actual holiday that was going on here. There's a deleted scene that sort of alludes to the fact that it might be New Year's. Now, I don't know what the weather's like that part of the country, that part of the world, rather, that time of year. It's cold here, and I'm in the deep south. I know what it's like where you are in the Midwest in Minnesota. So, I mean, I don't know what time of year it is, and it doesn't really matter. But these women are on holiday, and they bump into these boys in this bar, and that's when we meet three of our guys. You have Marcus, the tall one. You have Josh, the kind of quiet, nice boy, and then you got the boy band wannabe.
Yeah, big time.
Bluey. What a douchebag. I mean, the second he walks on screen, you can smell the cologne and cheap alcohol off this dude.
Yeah, he kind of looks like a cross between Joaquin Phoenix and Justin Timberlake, right? I mean, you put those two together.
Yeah, but like if they got their face mashed in by a wall.
Well, yeah, but that's why I put Joaquin Phoenix. He's got that lip thing going on, and then Justin Timberlake for the kind of the bad boy attitude type thing. I don't know. It's just bizarre. You knew right away he was big time trouble. The rest of them seem like they're nice guys, right? This guy you knew was the instigator. He was going to be the bad guy here.
He's the first one talking trash to you. They get the girls out of the party and they start talking about what they do. These guys are sailors. And they're not like in the Navy sailors. They work on a private yacht. One of these multi-billion-dollar yachts things, And what is it the last weekend they're on the boat and the owner's already left? Or what was the setup of that? Because I missed that.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out too. I was trying to figure out, they were a little upset, like they couldn't take the boat out because they didn't, like whoever it was it their father who owned the boat? I couldn't quite figure out what it was.
I think one of the girls accuses them of that, but they act like
they come out and say that they're not supposed to leave shore without permission, right? And then they're like,
they do. But no, I'm talking about the father thing.
Oh, I don't remember that, but
I was going to say one of the girls says that to him, but then they reveal it that they just work for somebody. But the point is, you're right. They're not supposed to take it out. So they take the girls to the boat, or they want to take the girls to the boat though because they think it'll be fun, and they're trying to impress these girls, right? Which, not a bad way to impress them, multi-million-dollar yacht.
Pretty nice boat. Pretty nice boat.
Yeah, it's a sweet boat. I mean, it's a nice boat. But I think it's funny, they're walking on the deck, and Tammy doesn't want to go, She's like, I thought it was just going to be a girls' weekend, and what do the other two girls do? This is interesting to watch how they play this. Kim is like, well, that's fine, we'll meet up with you later. And she sort of made up her mind, right? She's just going to do what she's going to do. Lisa's like, come on, come on along. And she's trying to be the supportive friend, but at the same time, she's wanting to have a good time too.
Yeah.
So in essence, they drag Tammy on this boat.
Yeah, and instantly in my mind, based on my knowledge of other horror films, I instantly think they're going to convince Tammy to get on the boat, and she's the one who's going to die. And surprisingly, I'm wrong.
Okay, see, I read it the exact opposite way because it's always the reluctant one that survives in the horror movie. And I think it's because I've seen too many horror movies that I know that.
See, and this is why you're the expert.
So not in donkey punches. I would like to say that for the record.
No,
I am an expert in horror.
Like to say that.
I am not an expert in that. I don't want to be an expert in that. Yeah. And after you find out what it is, you'll know why. But I knew instantly, okay, I didn't know if Tammy was going to live to the end, but I knew Tammy was not going to be the one that died. because nobody that is damaged goods is ever going to die in one of these movies. All right, so you knew she was going to. There was going to be some story to her. They weren't just going to kill her. And then I had to figure out which one of these girls is going to die. You know, and then I thought, ooh, are they really going to mess with this? And it's going to be one of the guys that dies. You know, because I didn't read anything about it. I had no idea what was going to happen. Yeah, that would have been really strange.
Been
but
interesting.
We're not going to go there. That's Donkey Punch 2, but the Reckoning. But anyway, we'll get back to that. So they're finally convinced to go on.
Sure.
Yeah, really. That one that I don't reckon I want to see. But Josh gives the girls the tour of the boat. We see that huge bedroom, and I'm already thinking like, well, you know, obviously that's where it's all going to go down, because why would you show a set like that on a movie made this cheap and not use it again? I mean, that's, you know, that's all going to happen. So they decide, let's take the boat out for a little bit. Well, no, before that, let me back up for a second. So they're pumping the music a little bit, and we meet Sean, who's the guy that wasn't at the party but is the engineer. He's Josh's older brother. He's the engineer on the boat, and he seems like a pretty nice guy, but he's older than the rest of them. They dropped that he's he's older, and he's the one that's kind of the buzzkill initially. He's like, hey, we can't crank the stereo like that. The other people in the moorings will get mad at us. You know, we can't get in trouble here. You know, we're about to be off this boat because there's a new crew coming, and the girls are ready to go, especially Kim, which I think is just funny about her. She's like, okay, we're done then, you know? And then the guys are like, whoa, wait. We can't let the hot girls leave the boat. So they decide, let's take it out. What's the worst that can happen? Which is always the wrong thing to do, isn't it?
There you go. Idiots.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I like how it is too. I mean, like, she's like, oh, all right, let's just get out of here. This is lame. Like, really? That's how you're going to convince them to do it? Okay.
Notice what happened. They took the boat out.
Exactly.
Right?
Oh.
So it lets you know that Kim is the impetuous one she reacts off of her emotions. And that is something character-wise you need to know about her going through this film, because it's how she filters everything. Because, talking about they set up these characters really quick. They have to do about what I call 2 seasons of back work in 30 minutes with all these people. And with 7 people, that's a lot of work. So they're trying to get a lot out there. So they go out on the seas, and it's all about having a good time. We get some people jumping in the beautiful ocean, beautiful water. I mean, I've never been to the Mediterranean, but I have friends that have been. They talk about how gorgeous it was. This looks fantastic. And then we break out the pills.
Time for the drugs, B. Yeah, and of course, this is our bad boy, Bluey, who's taking out these pills, passing them around, getting everyone to take a pill. They half one with, what was it, Tammy?
Sean and Tammy half one, yeah.
Sean and Tammy, they split one, and instantly you're looking, okay, you got 4 guys here, right? And 3 girls. We instantly learn that Josh is the odd man out here. And not because, I guess he's obviously the odd man out, because they look at Josh and Sean, who I think are brothers, right? Yeah. And basically he says, you're going to give one to Josh here, Sean? And, whatever. So we see Tammy takes a liking to Sean, so Josh is the odd man out here. He's the young one. Yeah, because
but it's funny is Josh is hitting on Tammy, but he's so nervous around her, and she's not really into him. The thing that I always read that she attracts to Sean is he seems a little more mature and older, and like he's not trying to pull anything. So if she's already hurt and trying to get over it, this is somebody you can party with, hang with, and not necessarily have to hook up.
Right, I think she feels safe with him compared to the rest of them.
Yeah, while the other guys are all clearly trying to get laid, and so are the other 2 girls.
Exactly.
So, because it's pretty clear what's going on here. I mean, everybody's dancing sassy to the Eurotrash as they take ecstasy.
Yep.
And then they start telling the nasty story.
Well, yeah, so they're all drugged up, and then out of nowhere, Bluey starts talking about the Cleveland Steamer. I'll let you look that one up. UrbanDictionary.com. You can
Let me just tell you, but don't look at it. You don't need to. You don't want to know.
Don't need to. So he starts talking about that, and then we get around to the donkey punch. And what I find hilarious here is that after they explain what the donkey punch is, basically you're having sex with doggy style, and as you're about to climax as a male, you punch the girl in the back of the neck so that she tenses up. and it gives you a good orgasm, right? That's the theory behind it.
Well, that
Obviously, that's probably
which there's
not very
no
fun for
proof
the girl.
to.
But
Yeah, which Lisa calls out,
Right.
which I think is funny.
what do you get? What's the girl
Yeah.
get out of this? What do you care?
And of course, Bluey and typical bad boy. Oh, I didn't seem to mind that or don't care about that,
Right.
Because but it's all about the guy. But it's one of those stories that you've heard told.
Oh yeah.
And if you apply one iota of logic to that, you realize how ridiculous that is. There's no way that would work. That doesn't make any sense. Blunt force trauma doesn't cause tension. It causes relaxation of the ultimate kind.
Yeah, exactly. But
So,
what I thought was hilarious in this scene was that Josh all of a sudden says, "Oh yeah, I've done that," and they're all ripping on him for
course.
saying something as stupid as that. Oh really? Tell us how it was. Tell us how you did it. And so obviously they're foreshadowing that this is going to happen soon, and that most likely this Josh is going to be involved.
See, I'm glad you caught that because I did not know who was going to do it.
Oh, so yeah.
Ultimately, I didn't catch that the first time, but that's a good catch, Brian, because you're right. That they are totally setting it up to where he would be the one that would have to do it.
He's got to prove
Brian,
that he's done this before, right? That's what they're going to do.
Exactly. That's right. And before that, Brian, we got to get proper hardcore.
Yes, this is a term. So if you're taking the drugs and you're, doing the nasty stuff, the Urban Dictionary sexual things, the dirty Sanchez, that kind of stuff, you are hardcore and proper hardcore. That's how they explain themselves. What the hell is that?
There's got to be some British slang, but it's Lisa who calls herself out as hardcore, and now she's been the tease the whole way. And of the three women, not to be too chauvinistic here, but Kim is a really short little pixie petite girl, short hair. Tammy's kind of medium build, but not very tall. She's sort of in between Kim. Lisa is this tall, buxom blonde. Long hair. She's brick house, the whole bit, and she's flaunting it big time. And of course they're all high, and they're high on ecstasy, which removes all your inhibitions. And so they're all high, they're all drinking, they're out in this beautiful place, they're having a good time, and then they start taking hits off the Russian crack pipe or whatever the heck it is he's got, and it's everybody's getting high except Tammy and Sean, who are too busy being cute with each other. They don't take a hit off the crack pipe, so they're just half ecstasy. But everybody else is taking the hit, and then Lisa drops the line, "I'll take you," at Marcus.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because then it's time to go downstairs to the big bedroom that we've already walked through 15 minutes ago. Now, we're 35 minutes into the movie, all right? And now we're getting down to the nitty gritty.
Well, and it's interesting because Lisa doesn't take Marcus.
She doesn't.
She ends up with
I don't
Bluey.
know. Yeah, which I thought was weird. Well, before that happens, her and Kim get on the bed together and kind of they make out a little bit.
Yeah.
And then there's this little joke where Bluey's got a video camera and they grab that camera and they're like, "Okay, you two guys make out," and the dudes are like, "No way!" It's sort of the reverse American Pie too. If you've ever seen that,
right.
And but it's not played for laughs, because there's now, instead of the techno pop, there's like British slow jam in the back or whatever, and I don't know what that is, but all that's going on. And now, what's the weird thing is Josh is on the couch watching all this go down.
Yeah, and I'm worried he's going to whip it out and start jerking it on this. And
I so thought they were going to go there too, because I thought this is a UK film. It's unrated already. This is a sexually charged moment. Why not?
That's what it looked like. He would look like he was getting positioned for it, and I was like, no,
it really did.
Don't do that.
I know. I was like, please don't show me that. I don't even want the hint of it. But at any rate, Josh winds up with the camera while everybody else starts getting it on. And basically, Marcus and Kim go over to the side and they're doing their own thing, for a while. Bluey and Lisa get it on.
So Bluey and Kim, Lisa are on the bed. They're getting it going, and Bluey blows it pretty quickly. And she's kind of disappointed because she hasn't, been fulfilled yet. So what's he do? He looks at Josh and says, "Hey, Josh, tag, you're it. Come on in. Tag team partner."
Now,
Boom.
hold, we got to back up for a second, though. Because that is the total trope of that character, though, right? The guy that talks the hardcore can't do
exactly.
it. He's probably the least experienced of any of them in the boat. The most hardcore people can't really keep anything sustained going on without getting weird. Because Kim and Marcus are over in the corner going the whole time.
Yeah.
Nonstop. And this is like a 7-minute scene. So they're implied that those two are fine by themselves. They don't need any other entertainment, But Bluey, Josh, and Lisa, for different reasons, but each because a part of their character, have to come up with different ways to fulfill themselves. So you're right. Josh tags in and they trade the camera out, and now Bluey is watching him go with her.
And instantly you see that Josh has had zero experience with this because he's like, doesn't know what he's doing. He's in shock. He's got this look on his face like, I can't believe I'm actually going to have sex with someone. It's quite interesting, I think. But so he gets going, and it takes Bluey's basically telling him what to do the whole time as he's videotaping this thing. And she's nasty. She likes it. She's nasty. Get rough with her.
While that is going on downstairs, Tammy and Sean are talking to each other up top on the deck. And she's talking about her guy cheating, and he tries to get her to open up a little bit more, and ultimately she just turns up the music and they start making out a little bit, but it's way more tame than what's going on downstairs. They're pretty much just kissing and kind of holding each other's faces. Then we go back downstairs where Josh may not be that experienced, but he's figured it out. And
it's pretty difficult.
It's going along. Yeah. And he's got a coach who's telling him to smack the bitch up.
Yeah.
Don't say that.
That's true. He's basically telling her to smack her around a little bit, make it rough.
Smack her around. And he is. He's slapping her. And it's, she's, yeah. And then Blue's like, you know what to do, right? And immediately I was like, oh, here it comes. They're setting it up. It's like a tag team getting ready to do the finisher, And it's right there. And then, boom, he hits her in the back of the head, the donkey punch. There it is. And, it's like somebody took a record and went,
everything stops.
Everything stops and goes dead silent. And I want to say that was a brilliant move in editing to have everything go dead stop silent immediately. Because it's like, whoa. Because that would be a showstopper if the person you are making love to dropped dead instantly.
Oh, yeah.
Or
in
just front of you.
Just gets knocked out. They didn't know she was dead right then. They thought she was just unconscious. And they're like, whoa, what happened? Everything stops. And then I think it's Marcus who actually goes and checks on her and looks up and says, look, she's dead. She's gone.
And Sean, Josh goes and gets Sean and Tammy, and naked people are everywhere checking out Lisa.
Yeah.
And the boys immediately go, she must have OD'd.
Yeah, trying to cover it up
so
instantly. Mm-hmm. Because
they don't know.
And Kim didn't see anything, right? She did not see what happened.
Because her back,
back was facing them, and she was getting it on with Marcus the whole time. So she has no clue what actually happened. All she knows is that her friend is lying there naked, and of course he hits her in the back of the neck, and you can't really see the bruising because her hair is covering it up. So she had no clue what happened here. She's just as confused as everyone else. But we know that obviously Josh, Bluey know, and I think Marcus knows what happened too.
Well, he does to an extent. He knows they were getting a little rough there, and then something happened. He doesn't know everything until a little bit later, but they don't take long to clue him in on it. But Bluey knows, and Josh is in denial. He's doing the typical. He's just like sitting in the corner shaking, And I gotta say this for Julian Morris, the actor that plays Josh. I don't know him from anything. All right, I doubt I'll ever even see him in anything again. But he had what may be the hardest performance to pull off in the movie. Because he's got to go from shy boy to try to fit in to, essentially crazed denial to killer.
Yeah.
In this whole film, he's got a heck of an arc. And this is this turning point for him where you can see the look on his face. I'm going, this guy is already trying to figure out how to get out of this, how to get out of this, how to get out of this. And because Bluey's pointing fingers, he shows the video to Marcus, and that's when the boys now all know what happened.
Well, yeah, obviously they watched the video back of it, and it's quite clear what what caused this. So now they're trying to come up with something to get things going, and they're actually trying to figure out how they're going to keep these girls in line. Before they don't really know what happened other than their friend is now dead. What are they going to do? So they're coming up with a scheme to figure out how to pull this over. A couple, obviously when Sean finds out, he wants to call it in to the is it the Coast Guard?
I guess the Coast Guard, the authorities, whatever the equivalent would be where they are. Yeah.
So he wants to call it in and get them out there and just say, she OD'd, but because he doesn't actually know what happened yet, because only the 3 boys who watched the film know what happened. Then they show him, and now he's like, oh crap, what do? We got to throw her overboard or something and say she just fell over. Yeah.
Well, Sean starts talking to him, and he says that they've got to cover up the crime and the evidence because they were engaged in sex. It'll look like a gang rape or an assault. It will not go over like a game because there's really no, is you gonna get her friend to admit that they were doing, crack and they talked about doing this and then all of a sudden they just did it, which, is actually a misnomer. They just were all having the sexy talk upstairs. Nobody said, hey, let's go try that. It just came about in the circumstances. But again, these guys know they're foreigners in a foreign port. They can't get caught because it's lights out for them if they do. So they decide, we got to do the right thing. We got to try to bury her at sea, and so the Sean shuts down the boat. They try to decide what to do. They decide we got to convince the girls to throw her overboard and all that. And here's the thing. They're getting close enough to land for Tammy to try to make a call on a cell phone, and then they turn the boat around. So they got to go back to there, and they act like Bluey throws the tape overboard. Now, did you think he had actually done it there? Because
No.
I actually did. I thought, okay, that's the end of the tape.
Absolutely
Okay.
not. I figured he didn't do that for sure. He's got they're all in cover your ass mode, right? Every one of them. So now he's got his evidence that it wasn't him, just in case something ever comes of it. And I figured it would resurface at some point.
Well, it was a good call for you because I actually thought that was the end of the tape. I didn't know the rest of the film was going to hinge on that tape, but a lot of it does. Oddly enough, that little tape gets a lot of. He gets as much screen time as any of the actors. I wonder if it took a salary, but they go through this whole bit. This is true, but Marcus is trying to tell them that. They're trying to come up with the story of she had too much to drink and she fell overboard. That's going to be our story. That's going to be our story. And as they're wrapping her up, Marcus and Sean find the bruise in the back of her neck from the donkey punch. So they know for sure that's what got her. And they're wrapping it, and Josh is pondering about he's talking about we got to be in international waters to avoid Mediterranean prosecution. This boat is registered in Panama, so if anything ever, if we're in international waters, we have to go back to Panama. There's really no law down there. But he's like scheming up ways to get out of it. He's coming up with the glove that does not fit.
Well, and he's got all
like
he says. This is registered in Panama. It's easy to buy off judges there, so no big deal. We'll go in international waters. We'll never have to worry about it.
Which goes back to the theory that you got to realize these are not kids that are from nothing necessarily. These people have got money. They come from some power and money, probably to get the job anyway, but certainly beyond that. So they clearly are not people of no means. And I thought there needed to be one person in the group of guys that had something to lose. That was going to lose something to they were working their way through and had worked their way into that class. But as it plays now, all of them are kind of the same. They all kind of grew up together because we're led to believe Bluey is Josh and Marcus's friend, and Sean, of course, is Josh's brother. So, they've grown up the same places together. There's nobody that is going through that struggle. But again, it's a 90-minute movie. They only got so much they're trying to do here. I guess I'm asking them to do too much. But, I mean, gosh, they had to shoot a donkey punch scene, for goodness sake. But, so they're going to toss Lisa in the deep. But Sean all of a sudden starts protesting. That we shouldn't do it. So I'm immediately going, well, he's going to die because in the horror movie, the guy that is trying to do the right thing but goes along with the plan but ultimately tries to back out of it almost always dies, except in I Know What You Did Last Summer. But he's playing the role of Ray in I Know What You Did Last Summer, or Julie in some ways.
Yeah. No, other than he ends up actually being the one who does throw her over, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, he throws her over, but that's not enough because her body does not sink. So Marcus has to go out there and tie the anchor to her a little heavier so she ultimately does sink away. And that was that was a good looking shot. I don't know how they got it or where they shot that, but that looked pretty effective. There's something creepy about the water at night anyway, but the ocean, but you get a little bit away from the lights of that boat and it's just darkness.
Yeah. And I like how they showed the struggle of him trying to get the weight to her because, this is going to sink her body, right? So obviously it's going to sink him too. So he's really struggling to get that weight on her, and he ends up doing it. And I like what they did, that the girls had run up to the controls and hit it into full throttle to try and get the boat away, and all of a sudden he turns around and he sees the jets coming at him, which could have chopped his head off, which I thought was interesting. And now he's got to hurry his ass up and get onto the boat, otherwise he's going to be left behind.
Exactly. So they get him back on the boat. Of course, he's pissed. But what that sets up for Marcus is that he's the strongest one of everybody on this boat. He can he's the first mate, so we already knew he was in charge as it was. And he's also the most physically intimidating person on the boat now. So he, in some ways, is a threat and is a strength at the same time. Because they get back up there and, of course, shut the boat down because, hey, thanks for trying to drown me, And he finds Kim going through the stuff, and Sean tries to tell Tammy to be level-headed and keep Kim under control. And I've just thought to myself, good luck with some of that.
Because at this point, Kim is just psycho. Like, which is understandable. She is total psycho. Like, what have you done? I'm going to kill you. I can't believe you've done this. Get me out of here. Take me back to the shore. You're in so much trouble. She's going off the hilt.
Yeah, totally. And then there becomes this discussion. They start to head back to port, and Bluey and Josh start talking, and Josh starts to think that they're all screwed. But actually, Marcus is the acting skipper, so legally, he's 100% liable. He's the one that's going to be in the most trouble. And what I'm wondering is this his stress reaction, or are we supposed to buy this as this guy is actually incredibly evil? We just didn't see it. Is that the misdirect?
It's interesting. I don't know what the misdirect is, but you got to think logically here. That doesn't make any sense. But maybe he's trying to convince Bluey, right? And maybe Bluey's not the smartest guy on the boat, right? So maybe he'd buy that. But he's trying to convince him, oh, we wouldn't be in trouble. I could kill you, but no big deal because Marcus is the one who's going to get in trouble because it's his boat and he needs to be in charge of everything that happens on it. Yeah, right.
Right. Right. It's weird. And then we find out there, though, that Bluey didn't throw away the tape.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, what is your game now, Bluey? Because you tell Josh, I've got the tape. I didn't throw the tape over, right? And he immediately goes to Marcus. We don't see what they talk about, but you could just assume that he's like, hey, the deck hound up here is trying to sell you out to me.
Yeah,
and I've got
exactly. And there you go. Bluey, not the smartest guy. Josh misreads that because Bluey understands exactly what he's doing and says, sorry, buddy, but here's your evidence and you're going down if we go back.
Okay. Now, the most inexplicable thing happens here, and I hope you can help me make sense of it, because, again, 2 times through, and I didn't know why this next thing happens. Marcus goes back upstairs and resets the autopilot to take them back to deep sea, then goes back downstairs and tells everybody, we got 45 minutes left on this trip, so everybody just play it cool. Why does he take them back to deep sea? What is he planning on doing?
That's a very good question, and I don't know because they've already gotten rid of the body. They don't need to really be in international waters. My guess is that maybe he's now thinking of ways to cover it up, and he wants to get rid of the other girls because he can trust. Trust his boys to come up with a story, and there's no evidence that these girls were ever on their boat.
That's a good point. I mean, I thought that was a dark turn for Marcus to take, but because they never explain why he turns the boat around. He's never around to do it. And, of course, Josh outs Bluey for the tape, and the girls now know that there is a tape. And it's all about everybody starts to do this group paranoia where they start believing the lie, and if it's not, we talked about Bluey being the instigator from the start of this, Brian. If it's not for him being such a jerk all the time at the dinner table, they're sitting down to eat a sandwich, and he's going, we're going to put it on YouTube, $50 a pop, and all this. He's being such a jerk about it. If he would shut up, the paranoia would set in and everybody would just go with the group think hypnosis of we're going to buy the lie now. But because he keeps on with it, the girls snap back into reality.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, like you said, they're basically sitting around, they're eating bread because I think that's the only thing they have on the ship, and they're deciding that if they eat, that'll help them calm down. They haven't eaten all day, blah blah blah, and he's just being a complete ass about everything, and Tammy finally blows it and just stabs him with the knife they're using to cut the bread with. It was quite interesting scene.
It's like a multi
Right,
tool. I've got one of those,
like a Mac knife. Yeah.
And I mean, and she hits him like on the, right below the collarbone, right in the chest.
Right through the lung.
So it's in a real nasty spot, and he's bleeding. And of course, they start feeding him drugs. I don't know what they're.
It's cocaine. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Is it coke? Well, why the hell would you give somebody that's freaking out cocaine? Cocaine intensifies.
Yeah, but
you give them heroin
because it calms their nerves somewhat, and it also takes the pain away.
Okay.
Not everybody gets paranoid from it. There's other reactions, so maybe they already knew his reaction was not paranoia.
I guess I've just seen Scarface too many times and what it did to Tony Montana that I just expect Bluey to go say hello to my little friend. No. But because he said every other day I'm in the movie, so you might as well do that too.
There's many reactions people have to cocaine. Paranoia is just one of them, and most people don't get that. So I'm guessing they knew it would either calm him, because some people get calm from cocaine, and other people it takes the pain away. So that's what I think they were going for.
Brian, I don't know if I'm more shocked by the donkey punch I've seen in this movie or the fact that you know this much about cocaine.
I'll explain. I just watched this awesome documentary on the History Channel, I think it was. It was either History Channel or A&E, called Between the Lines, The War on Cocaine. And they went into everything. They talked to the drug dealers, the people who've taken it for years, and all this other stuff. And it was really cool because they had one guy who did get paranoid from it, and they had him talking about it, and he did some cocaine while they were interviewing him, and all of a sudden, he just all of a sudden flips out, and he's like, "Did you hear that?" And he opens the door and looks out the door. "They're coming. I heard footsteps. They're coming. I heard footsteps." So you got to see that kind of reaction. But then there were others who were... anyway, it was a cool documentary.
Well, see...
That's why I know.
Well, what's funny, though, is well, what's funny, though, is Bluey doesn't have the reaction. Everybody else does. And this is a movie that's... the premise of it is you have this terrible thing that happens in a confined space in a place where you can't get to safety quickly. That's the whole setup here, right? You're out in the middle of the ocean on a boat, and something like this happens. What will you do? And when it all starts to just fall apart, Tammy and Kim escape to topside, and they get on this life raft to loose the boat away, and Tammy tries to fire off a flare and fails. Well, she shoots it right through the water.
No. She tries to fire off a flare, and Kim's like, "What in the hell are you doing?" She didn't want them to see their position, so she actually knocks it down into the water so it won't get fired.
Oh, okay.
Because she doesn't want the boys to come after them. They just got out of there and escaped. And then obviously when she does try to do the flare, she notices they have no motor, which doesn't do them any good. But she still doesn't want the boys to come after them. She knows that if they see the flare, they'll come get them again. She'd rather take her chances on sea that someone will come rescue them than them come pick them up and risk whatever happens there.
And Kim's paranoia is not necessarily wrong there, because again, we're out in the Marcus has turned him out to sea, and we don't know why. We both have theorized that maybe he's going out there to throw them overboard too. He comes up there, and of course the guys circle around and they catch up to the boat, and Marcus comes up with a shotgun, and he said, and I don't think he's going to shoot him, but he says something to the effect of like, "I'll shoot the boat out from underneath you," and Kim shoots a flare off into him.
Man.
And it hits him, and then it springs and it shoots. That is a gruesome kill.
Yeah, it right to the stomach. I think it was where she hit him, and that's it for him. He's gone. So now the toughest guy on the boat is dead. Right.
Oh, beyond that, Brian, the de facto skipper is gone now. And there's something that happens at this point in the movie. There's about 20 minutes left in this movie at this point, and the whole thing becomes this chaotic, frantic mess. And I don't know if that's a filmmaker choice, because that's what would happen when the skipper was gone, or if it's, again, the mark of a low budget and a first time filmmaker. But I'm willing to give them the gimme that the script is paced as such that, I mean, it's like it hits overdrive. It's like the throttle is wide open now after Marcus dies because there's no one there to guide the ship anymore.
Well, and he, at this point, you got Bluey who's stabbed and hurting. You got Sean left and you got Josh left. And for the girls, you have Tammy and Kim, obviously still alive. And now the boys are trying to get them to calm down, get on the boat, come up with a story, and they're not going for it. So now it comes to the point where Josh is going to try and play them against each other. And he learns about the fact that Tammy's ex-boyfriend was sleeping around on her, and he lays down the thought that maybe the friends were sleeping with her boyfriend as well. And Kim's reaction basically says, yes, that happened.
Yeah, well, what a smart little move, though. I mean, Josh is a manipulative little dude, isn't he?
For being a shy guy,
really
he
is.
sure knows what he's doing.
Oh, hey, it's always the quiet ones. You know, but no, that's a horror trope, though, Brian. It's always the quiet ones that become the most sadistic in the time of peril, the time of trouble. You know, I mean, you can see that. And you said it right. Bluey's bleeding to death and high. Josh likes the girls in the bathroom, and they turn on each other because he sets them against each other. He plays the Yoko factor on them. And Sean can't find the keys to the boat. Josh finds them and lies about it. Why? Is he planning to kill everybody at that point? Did you get that? Because I kind of thought he's just going to kill them all.
Oh, yeah. I think that's what he was doing. I mean, he basically hid the keys. I think that what he's going to do is it's going to be he and Sean versus everyone else, basically. They're going to find out where the tape is from Bluey. They're going to get rid of him, right? Because they already know he's going to turn on them. They're going to get rid of the girls, and then it's just him and his brother, and they'll figure it out, and they'll be okay.
Right, because they're brothers. He figured the brothers could, yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, as a plan, I'm not saying I like it. I'm just saying it would make sense logically. So he moves Bluey to the bathroom and closes the door. And I thought, uh-oh. I mean, we've already seen the gruesome flare death. This guy's been stabbed. This is about to go to the hostile saw place where we start getting some real torture and stuff. Tammy and Kim are trying to break the glass door out of the bathroom. Tammy gets all cut up, and they show her picking glass out of her knee. And I was like, oh, I mean, this movie has gotten decidedly graphic in the last third. I mean, it's gross now. Josh keeps on and on about the tape, and he keeps like playing with the knife embedded in Bluey's, and it keeps tempting him with drugs.
Before that happens, though, he basically asks Bluey where the tape is, and Bluey tells him it's under the bed. But while that is happening, like you said, Tammy breaks out of the bathroom by going through the glass, and she's cut up. But she goes and gets the tape because she's also heard that it was under the bed. So she grabs the tape and then goes and hides. So Josh just comes in and looks all around for this tape. He cannot find it. So that's when he goes back to Bluey, and that's when the torture really begins, because he just started a little bit on Bluey to get him to say where the tape is, and he got him to say that. And he didn't even torture him. He basically withheld the cocaine from him to get the advice. And once he finally gave it to him, he gave the cocaine, went off, and then it's not there. There is when the torture begins.
Yeah, he starts like leaning on that knife, and then he finally just yanks it out, and Blue just bleeds out and dies. And I thought, how sadistic this dude is. And he's in total, I mean, he's totally washed over at this point. This different look in his eyes, and he goes after Tammy because he knows, well, she must be the one that has the tape. So he's going after her now. And that's when Kim gets the shotgun and marches him upstairs because she sees the keys in his pocket and is like, go turn the boat on. So, of course, he goes upstairs and cranks the boat up again. And that, and it's basically Kim and Josh upstairs, and now Tammy goes downstairs to try and
who's
find
locked
Sean,
in the engine room, by the way.
Yeah, Josh has locked him in the engine room. So
again, maybe he's turning on his brother now too. We don't even know. But it looks like that way.
Yeah, everybody's out for themselves, it looks like, at this point. Even the girls aren't really in it with each other at this point, So, of course, Josh overpowers Kim, didn't take a lot, got the gun from her, goes after Tammy, and Sean intervenes and gets the gun. And there's this big argument going on. Of course, Kim sees this, or hears this, actually, and she just sees Sean with the shotgun, and she grabs the little boat motor, cranks it up, and just dices him. And I thought, this is straight out of a Saw movie now. They have just gone there. And I know that's a small motor, okay? But there's no way that little woman... she did it. I mean, they did all their own stunts, so I guess she did it. But I had a hard time believing that. I'd have bought it more if she, like, grabbed an axe and went in there swinging it. But I guess they wanted to go for something gruesome, and it is gruesome because she cuts his head off.
Oh, yeah, she dices him up pretty good. I mean, he is fairly unrecognizable after that, and just gruesome. And of course, Josh is just like, oh my God, that's my brother. What'd you do? And so now you're like, oh, so this is it. Now we got the girls versus Josh, and that's it. That's what's left here. Just unreal.
But it's not because Kim knows that her impetuous, almost self-destructive nature has now pushed her over the line. She's committed murder, which is something she cannot abide in herself. So she goes upstairs to the back of the boat. Tammy follows her crying, She stands up on the back of the boat and she just falls backwards into the deep, into the churning motors below, and essentially kills herself in the wake. And I mean, how did you like that? I thought that was a weird way for her to go
I didn't
out.
understand why she would just commit suicide like that after what she did. I guess, the self-conscious takes over there, and then that was her retribution for what she did, but it was definitely not what I expected.
Like, can I tell you how I would have bought that if she had gone out there with the motor and had maybe hit Sean in the arm or something, but caused the gun to go off and kill her friend, the other girl? Then I would have bought that she might have committed suicide. But killing one of these guys who mean nothing to her, I don't get why that sets her over. I know why it has to happen. They have to get the character off the boat, and they don't want anybody to kill her. But I would have bought that more. But like I said at the beginning, you can't kill Tammy because she's already damaged, so therefore she's impervious.
Yeah, it was interesting, that's for sure. So now we are left here with just two people left, Josh and Tammy. The shy guy versus the reluctant girl.
Well, the shy guy who's plotting to
the
kill
shy guy
everyone
who's psychotic
and save his own tail. Yeah, who's gone overboard completely. And the girl who didn't want to be there to begin with, who says the line of, just get me off this boat now. I don't care where we are. I don't care where we're going. Now, let me ask you this. Have they ever turned the boat back around?
Not to my knowledge.
Or is it just still sailing out to sea?
Not to my knowledge. They haven't done anything.
Okay, I don't remember them doing it either. Yeah, they shut it down and then they started it back up. So for all I know, it's still heading out to sea, And they're getting on the life raft, and I saw Tammy grab the tape. She throws it in a little waterproof container, and then when they're getting the life raft, she grabs the mooring rope that she helped Sean untie earlier in the movie. So she's grabbed that, and I'm going, what are you doing?
Yeah, I didn't expect what she ended up doing. I thought she was maybe going to jump off the boat with the tape and use that to get her back to the yacht and leave him out far enough where he probably couldn't get there. I did not expect what happened.
That's it. Apparently, there are multiple versions of the ending, and this one was the one they decided to go with because it's more satisfying. Like the script had, a lot of the script endings had Josh surviving, but they just felt like he couldn't survive because if he ever got back to mainland with her, he'd either kill her or slip away from it and blame it on her or whatever. But of course, he pulls a knife on her and demands that she throw the tape overboard. Once again, this tape has become the central of everything in this movie, and she tosses it where he has to go and grab it. And as he's doing it, she throws the mooring rope around his neck. He drops the tape, and the boat is hooked to this rope, and it yanks him off the boat, snapping his neck and dragging him out to sea. Well, she's left in this life raft out in the middle of the ocean, and then she sets off a flare and just stares up at the sky, just hoping for something. And my thought is, what are you going to tell everyone happened? You got the tape that shows your friend getting killed, but that's all it shows.
Right.
So what are you going to do?
Yeah, I didn't understand. I wanted to know what ended up happening in the end after this, but they kind of left it open for interpretation, I guess. But I agree. I was wondering, what is she going to get accomplished here? Is she going to claim that someone went all psycho on the boat and blame it on someone else? Or, which, really did happen, but they all went psycho on the boat. But, we never really find out what came of it. And I kind of wanted to know, even as weird as this movie was, I really did want to know what happened to her in the end.
Yeah, I was curious. I'm like, is she coming back for Donkey Punch 2, The Reckoning, or
Oh,
what? I wanted to know what was going to happen because a thriller trope is that you always leave it hanging, that you don't fill in the court case and all the stuff that happens at the end, the stuff that makes up the majority of the Lifetime movies. But that's the story I wanted to tell because I felt like I had gone on all of this. I wanted to see her back safe because here's what's going to happen to that boat. It's going to go out into international waters, and the Coast Guard is going to hail it, and nobody's going to answer, and they're going to sink it. So if there is any evidence left on that boat, and they're going to notice, they may never notice the man, dragging behind it because the sharks will get that. There's no evidence of any of these other people. Sean will be drowned with the boat. As will Bluey. Marcus is gone. Lisa is gone. Kim is gone. Josh is gone. There's nothing left to corroborate this woman's story. And it did leave me a little unsatisfied. I know you don't get those answers in a thriller, but I don't feel like they filled in enough of the gaps for me to give them this. Like I wanted to know I wanted to see her get picked up by something, a fishing boat coming by something, but we get nothing. We get credits black and that's it. And, I even watched it to the end waiting for like that scene, and there was nothing. There was nothing there. Well, Brian, we're at the point of the podcast where we give our final thoughts, recommendations, and popcorn rating for the film. So what are yours for Donkey Punch?
Well, it was definitely an interesting film. There was a lot of gore to it, mostly in the second half of the movie. First half was a lot of setup to what was going to happen, but the second half really turned into kind of a gory slasher type flick, which I thought I wasn't actually expecting that. I don't know if you were or not, but I didn't go in thinking that all was going to happen. I did feel unfulfilled at the end, like you were saying. I would like to have known what kind of came about of it, or at least have seen her get rescued by the guard. And maybe we don't know what happens after that, but at least get her seen getting rescued. We don't even know if she ever got picked up. She could be sitting there in the middle of the ocean floating for all we know. And so I kind of wanted to get a little closure on that. But overall, there was enough in the movie to be entertaining. And so for me, I'm giving it a medium popcorn.
Brian, I can sum up my experience with this movie much like Lisa did when she looks at Bluey and says, so what's in it for the girl? What's in it for us to go through the 99 minutes that this is? And the only conclusion I can come to is a lot of stymied climax, honestly. It leads you right up to the point of being really good, and then it fails on almost every level. This movie will get right to the precipice on almost anything that it's doing, and then it lets you down. And that's why I can't really give this much more than a medium popcorn. And I mean, it's the Sunday afternoon matinee leftover from the weekend medium popcorn. It's not real good for you, and it won't last with you long, but it's okay. There's enough here that in the hands of maybe a more experienced director, or even maybe this director a few years down the line with more of a budget and more of a cast that can do a little broader range. Nothing against the actors. I think they did okay with what they had. But maybe a little tightening on the script, this could work. But ultimately, it's incredibly unsatisfying, kind of like Lisa surmises there. For her point of view. So medium popcorn for me, but it's not a strong medium. So as far as seeing this one, folks, I mean, if you're like Brian and you're able to see it for free, by no means should you ever pay for it if you can see it for free legally. Or if you rent it for $1, I don't think you're going to be totally wasted on it. But I wouldn't go out of my way to try to find it either, folks. It's okay, but it's not great. I'm curious to see if this Ollie Blackburn guy does anything else along these lines, if he's able to come up with another one.
Well, I'm curious to find out if something like a Donkey Punch is really that big of a deal overseas to make a movie out of?
Apparently so, because I watched the making of part on the DVD, and several of the actors say, oh yeah, I've heard of this, and they say they all heard it from their American friends. And it would be but this kind of movie apparently over there is something they all like to go see. Like young 20-somethings are into this kind of taut mix of a thriller, sex romp, type of lecherous, young lad movie. This is something they all dig. So over there, I mean, it did quite well for an independent film. I mean, it made dough. I mean, the studio never goes into these kind of things thinking they're going to make a lot off this movie. They made enough to feel like giving these guys another job was worth it. And everything you saw from the the producer side of it was how thrilled they were with how it came out, because they thought it looked fantastic. I mean, this was a 3-week shoot, and all the actors talk about it was a lot of fun, but by the end of it, they were literally exhausted and almost insane from it, because apparently the pace of it was pretty rough on them. So I don't know. Be curious to see if any of these people ever make it over here. I haven't seen any of them in much of anything. I think Jillian Morris has been in some stuff over here with small parts, indeed, but nothing major. But, none of them have hit Leprechaun 2 yet or anything like that. So, we don't know how good they are, but we'll find out soon. Brian, you teased it in the opening there. We're going to be doing some thriller, scare kind of stuff for October. You want to tease the audience a little bit? Tell them what we got coming up the rest of the month for them?
Oh, it's going to be exciting. This is your first foray into what we're going to do for October here, but we're going to do also, Jay and someone new to our team, Nick, are going to take a look at the Blair Witch Project. So we got the Blair Witch 1, which will come out on the 14th of October, and we got the Blair Witch 2, which will come out on the 21st. And then for Halloween, just in time, we're going to revisit our favorite little green leprechaun, and we're going to review Leprechaun 2 for everyone, because Leprechaun 1 was just too awesome to call it at a
Ron, we both give that a small popcorn. I don't know what you call awesome, but but you know what? I can't think of a better way for our crew here at Filmstrip to launch into the Halloween season, if you will, the horror season, the thriller season. We decided we were going to do these. Look, all the standard issue horror films, Halloween films, stuff like that have been done to death by a lot of other podcasts. Why do that? Why not do things that are a little bit different? Blair Witch 1 and 2, I don't think anybody remembers Blair Witch 2, but Blair Witch, that's been a long time. It's been 12 years since that movie hit. I'm curious to revisit that, because I've seen that movie exactly one time. So I'm interested to do that one again. Nick is coming in with us, our newest member to the team, and then, like I said, you and I are going to go back to Leprechaun 2, because there were unanswered questions that we must have answers to. And we're going to get there. But that's what we got coming up in October for you folks here on Filmstrip. We sure enough appreciate you listening to our review of Donkey Punch, and you can check out our other reviews in the archive section of our website, continuousplaypodcast.com/movies. Hey, if you're a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, slip over to our Buffy site and check out Brian and I and our reviews of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer series. We're almost through 3 entire seasons of that. Tons of episodes there for you to listen to for your downloading pleasure. We certainly appreciate your support. Until next time, for Brian, I'm Jay. Thanks for tuning in to Filmstrip.
It's proper hardcore.
Thanks for listening to Filmstrip. Visit our website, continuousplaypodcast.com, for more reviews and episodes. All content used or discussed in this podcast are the property of their respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504c2, Title 17.
Welcome to Filmstrip. I'm Jay.
And I'm Brian.
And we're here to talk about Donkey Punch, starring Robert Faulkner. Can we get through the... What?
Just the fact that we're talking about Donkey Punch. That's too funny.
Oh, I didn't even
Sorry.
get through the first line. Oh, man.
All right, I'm good.